Hi, this is Everett. This is Everett, Simply Drawing with Everett, and welcome to my studio and my classroom. And I'm broadcasting tonight on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And this is Simply Drawing with Everett, and I want to welcome everybody aboard. If this is your first time, please subscribe. And I've got the chat room on live, so you can ask a question or make a comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm in the studio tonight with my wife, Gloria.
Hello, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast in the chat room to help me out here. Well, tonight we're going to do another little drawing exercise. And tonight what I thought we'd do is I'll go back to a pencil drawing and add in some special shading. I think shading is very important. And I'm going to do that again tonight. So let me go over to my overhead camera, my close-up camera, and show you what I have. The material I'm using tonight, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of drawing paper here on my clipboard, and I've got my regular number 2 pencil. I'm using that for sighting. When I do a measurement, how far apart, how high it is, how long it is, I use a sighting pencil. Then I have for shading tonight, I have a 4B lead. And I have a 6B lead, a 2B and a 4B. And then I have, for really dark areas, I have an 8B. Okay, those are soft lead pencils. A 2, a 4, and an 8 for three levels of shading. Okay, so put that aside for a second. I'm also going to have a value finder, which I'll go into that a little bit later when I get to that. But here's the subject matter tonight. I'm taking a picture, and this is the actual. Here's the actual. It's a small vase, and what I did is I put it in my still life square, and I put a light on it so I can get a shadow pattern, and then took a picture, and this is what the picture looked like. Okay, so I'm going to draw from the picture, not from the actual item itself. So the picture here you can see. You can also you can take a snapshot of this. Take a snapshot. You can download that on your off your computer. And later on, if you can draw along with me or watch what I'm doing. And then if you want to participate and show me your drawings and so forth, you can post it on my Facebook page, Everetts Watercolors Art Group, on Facebook. So, and the link will be in the video below in the description. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the sighting pencil. When I start with anything, I start with the sighting, and sighting is just taking measurements off of the item. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick an area. Let's say I take the width, right here in the middle here, where it's about the widest part of the vase, and then I take that width, I take that measurement, and I compare it with the height. And I go from the bottom, and then I mark with my fingernail where that stops, and I take it from there. And it takes so to the front of the lip. The width I can go 2 times up to that, so that gives me a height measurement. That gives me a height measurement. It's 2 to 1. And another one I could do is I take a measurement here of this area in here, the width of the neck of this vase. Right in here. Then I can measure the lip up here on the top. And I take my fingernail, 1, 2. It's about 2 to 1 up here. So this is about 1 width, and this up here is about 2 widths up here. So that gives me two important measurements there: the height and the width of the item. That's very important. The other thing I want to look at is I've got a reference line here. I got this marked down in the bottom, right here in this vertical line here and behind the vase, and I've got the 2 lines here on the edge of the box, this line here and this line over here. So I can draw those in. So I'll start that. I'll get a reference point here. I'll start with I'm going to use my number 2 pencil here, and I'm going to start with just drawing a vertical line in, and that'll be that line. We'll draw that vertical line in. That'll be that line that I see. I might come over a little bit further. Yeah, I think I'll come over a little bit further. Okay, I come down, come about right there. Okay, so that's the vertical line behind. That's that vertical line behind the vase. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sight this angle in now. So I take the pencil and I go up here to the line and I look at the angle and I see what the compare it to the horizontal. There's the horizontal line and there's the angle. So it looks like pretty close to about 30 degrees. So I'll come up here and I get about I'll put about a 30-degree mark in there. Let's put that over here. So I get that's very important there. Show me the angle I'm at now. So from the horizontal down to that line is about 30 degrees. Okay, now I get the other line now. So from the horizontal down, it's about half that angle. So it's about maybe 15 degrees. So I got to estimate that one. Let's say here I got this one. That's not as the angle is not as sharp as the other one. So it'll be a little bit less. So I'm comparing the angle of those two edges of the box that the item was in. I'm comparing those with the horizontal line. This line here and this line here. Okay, and I got a vertical line here. All right, no. So I can take a look at the drawing. I can take a look at the item now, the picture. I'm looking at the picture. And I can start with, let's say, I want to go down and see how far I'm going to put the bottom. Put the bottom. Let's say I put the bottom about right here. Okay, so I'm just going to make myself, that's going to be the bottom of my vase, okay? And I'm going to estimate going up be about right there. Okay, and then I can estimate this angle, this size here. Now I mentioned before the width, so I'm going to take a general look at this. I can see if I look at the there's more over here than on this side. So this is not exactly in the center of the vase. It's it's about a third of the way over. If I look at that, if I look at that height there, if I look at that width, 1, 2, 3, that's about a third of the way over. So I can start looking at, from that angle, I'm going to come about a third over. Let's say that's where that is. And then I'm going to come over 1, 2, 3, about there. And I can mark that off now. Or a little bit further. Okay. All right. So I'm getting some reference points now. This I can take that out. Okay. So I got the center line. I'm not drawing anything hard. I'm not drawing anything dark because I'm just making reference points to myself. Okay. Then I can come down now and I can start thinking about the sides. I've got the edge over. I got this side over here. I'm going to start drawing this around. Let's see. This is going to come down here. Okay. So let's see what I want to do. I've got to make an estimate of the width there. So let's see. That side over here. The width of the vase is wider than the lip up here. So I got the width of the lip up here. But the body is a little bit wider, so I'm going to come out here. Okay. And I can start curving that down now. I'm making some rough estimates now until I get started. I'm making some rough judgments here about where things will fall. And over here, and it's going to come down, start curving down toward the bottom. Okay, now I got to start making some real honest decisions here now. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the width now. It's width here. The width is twice the height. So I go here. So I got the height. Okay. What I did was I measured the width. Again, remember I started there and I went from here up to the front lip. That's two. So that's the front part of the lip up here. And it's going to go back over here. So it's going to come around. So I'm just roughing that in right now, getting it started. And then it's going to come out to here. This is going to come down. This is the edge here, over here. And it's going to come down. Okay, now, I measured this before. The width of the neck here at this point is half of up here. I got to bring that in just a little bit. Okay. Now by looking at the outline now, I'm trying to get an idea, does this look like what I see in the photograph? And it's getting pretty close. This edge over here has got a rounder edge over here. Now what I'm doing now is I'm looking at this edge, so I'm doing more of a contour drawing now. I'm contouring the drawing here. It starts here and it curves down. And then it curves around this way in toward the bottom, So I did a contour drawing of that right there just by looking at the photograph. And erase the outside edge. Okay, and this side over here. So I like this side pretty well. This side is nice. Okay, this side over here has more curve to it. Got to bring the curve in. Again, I'm looking at the contour. I'm doing a contour drawing now of that section right there. Okay. And then I'm going to do a contour drawing here. I'm going to look at that shape, and I'm going to do it. I'm looking at that. I'm drawing it as I see it. I'm drawing what I see coming around the edge. So this is contour drawing. So we're using all the things that we've learned in previous steps that I've shown in previous drawings. Contour drawing, I've used sighting, angles. Okay, now I'm going to take an eraser and erase off some of these extra lines I have here. Okay, so pretty well got just about what I want. I'm just erasing all these construction lines. I call them construction lines. They're no longer necessary. Okay, and I look at the drawing and I look at the photograph and I say, well, is that basically what I'm looking at? And I think I pretty well got it. Now I'm going to smooth this out. Now again, look at the contour. Again, I'm doing a contour drawing of the lip up here. Contour drawing. In other words, I'm drawing what I see. I'm drawing the contour of what I see. Okay. All right, that turned out pretty good. All right, now the other thing I got to draw in is the shadow pattern. The shadow pattern, it's much taller than the item, so I got to look at this. I'm going to follow this area here. It goes along pretty along the edge of this, and I got my line already marked across here, so I can go ahead and darken that in a little bit. That's the edge of that. That's the edge of my shadow box. And I can draw that in. That's the edge of my shadow box. That's going to stay there. Okay. Now this edge intersects right here, and then it comes in. The shadow comes in toward the toward the eye, toward the subject, and it goes up. And it goes about almost just about halfway, so I got to go up pretty much. Still curves out. Doesn't start to curve in yet. Now it starts to curve in. It goes about almost halfway. There we go. Just about like that. So again, I'm doing a contour drawing now of the shadow. Contour drawing of the shadow. And now the neck of the vase or vase goes up. It goes above. It goes above the actual item there. Okay, then at the other side, okay. I can do a sighting here to see how much difference it is between the actual. Let's see here. This. Do I have to compare against something else? Yeah, I can compare it against the base. The base and the base almost match. So that gives me a pretty good angle. I measured the I'll do another contour drawing now. I'm going to look at the I'm going to look at the shadow now and draw what I see. And it's going to go up here. And I see this has got to come over here. This has got to be a little bit closer. If I look at that distance here, this has got to come over closer. All right, so it's one correction already. And then this angle here is going to go up, and it's going to go out here. Okay, that's going to be pretty close. And this falls down. It's not as sharp as this angle. So because this is at an angle, it's not going to have as sharp a curve. It's going to have it's going to have a smoother curve this way. Okay, now I'm going to pull my paper out of here to get the top on. I might see if I can get the top on. I'm going to almost run out of paper here, almost, but I'll save it. It's close enough, right at the very top. For this demonstration and for this exercise, that'll be pretty close. Okay, now we take a look at the drawing and see if everything is fitting in. Yeah, this is much taller. The angles, the spacing. This angle here is sharper. This angle slopes down more. I can have a little bit more on this. Again, I'm doing a contour drawing. I'm checking my shape compared to what I'm drawing. Okay, now we can start shading it in. I'm pretty happy with the shapes that I have on the paper. I got the face in, I've got the shadow, and I've got the sides. Okay, now we start talking about values now. The values, if I look at the values, this value here of the bottom, the base, it's almost as dark as the darkest black here. This is a value 1. This is value 1, which is the darkest side. This place right here. The shadow, I compared that. It's a 2 or 3, so it's not as dark as the base, but it's a little bit lighter. This is about a 2 or 3 right here. Value 1 is the darkest dark. 2 and 3 is a little bit lighter. So I match that up. And then the other shadow I'm going to do is the one behind. And that I will go to a probably a 4. A 4 or 5 over here. So I'm matching this value here with these two right here. So I've got the values. I got this one, which is the darkest. The shadow patterns here, this value, and then the wall over here on the left side is this value here, number 5, 4 or 5. Okay, so I got the values picked out. So now I can go ahead and take my pencil. So I'm going to start with let me start with the darkest value. And I'm going to take the 8B pencil. 8B pencil is a very soft lead. Now, I'm going to show you another technique tonight on shading. We're going to do cross-hatching. We'll start with cross-hatching. And what that is you start with an angle on your shading. You can pick an angle, and this all becomes individual. Your angle may be different than what I do, and you'll be different than someone else's, but that's fine. That's what we're doing. We're going to have your own individual markers, like doing your own signature. Okay, and then that's a hatch that way. It's hatching. Then I can turn the item, and I can cross hatch, which means I can cross the other way. Doing that will darken the area. That automatically darkens this section by cross hatching. So this is a fast way of shading in an area to show a darker mark. And this is called cross. And this takes a little bit of practice, but this is also something that needs to be learned. It's why I'm demonstrating that tonight. It's a technique that can be used, but it's something you need to practice, something you need to work with. It's called cross-hatching. It's just called cross-hatching. And so you draw with an angle, and then you change the angle. Now I can go back now and do a third. I can do a third swipe on this. I can pick another angle and go across here. And I can do this as often as I want, as many times as I want to. But I want to just get an idea here of how dark this area is. This is my darkest area, so I'm doing cross hatching with a darker mark. Now this is not going to be finished, but I'm going to demonstrate this to show how you do it, how you get started. Okay, and then you come up to the edge here and get a nice, especially around the edge of the item where you know you're going to get a lighter area. You can come in here and do a little close edge next to the item. Okay. All right, so that's the darkest area. Now the next one is the next area. I'm going to use the next level that I have, which is a 4B. So I'm using a less darker lead, a 4B versus what I used here was an 8B. Now this is a 4B, which is not as dark. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll use the same mark. I don't have to, but I'll use the same mark. Now here, I'm going to use less strokes on this one, and probably a little lighter stroke because it's a lighter value. I can use the same pattern, but I'm going to make a lighter value out of it by using less pressure, and I'll probably put less marks here just to get an idea of the value at this point. So this is a darker value, but not as dark as the darkest value. So I'm demonstrating cross-hatching using a cross-hatch technique.
And the number of that pencil again is?
Say again?
The number of the pencil?
Oh, the number of the pencil question was number. This is a 4B compared to what I used originally. I used the 8B for the base. The bottom here I used 8B, which is a darker pencil. So this is a lighter valued lid, and I'm using less pressure. Now you can see there it's also a lighter value, so dark and light. Now the lightest value I'm going to use is over here behind the vase, and here I'm going to use a 2B, which is much lighter than this one. So again, I'll use the same technique. I'll use a crosshatch. Use the crosshatch technique behind this part of the vase. And I'm going to use the rest of the areas I don't cover I'm going to leave it white. I'm not going to bother shading those in. Just going to get in the values that are different from the white value. The lightest value on the drawing is going to be the white paper, and I'm not going to touch that. So cross hatching, you would hatch, do your pencil marks in one direction, and then turn the paper, and then go the other direction, which would be the crosshatch direction, to get the mark on the paper, to get the value. Remember, all I'm doing now is trying to identify the value of these areas. And now, really, primarily, when you go to finish this drawing, you would go over this several more times. But this is a starting point. You start with a value here, then you increase. You go back and cover some more cross hatching. Okay. Now, the other part of this drawing is the shading on the vase itself. If you look at this is a curved surface. So there's going to be a shadow pattern on. There's going to be a form shadow on the curved surface, and there's going to be a shadow here inside this. Well, right away I know the top is going to have a dark value because it's inside. There's no light in at all there, so I can go ahead and fill that in. So I'm going to use a number 8 pencil to do that. So the top up here, which is no light at all getting in there, would be the darkest part of the vase. That's the dark inside the vase itself. Okay, now on the other part, I'm going to use a 2B pencil. This part here, I'm going to erase. I got some construction lines I want to take out too. I don't want those to show, so I'm going to take these lines that I had inside of the shape. I'm going to take those out. I don't want those to show, so I erase those out. Okay, but now I have a shadow pattern. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take. Now I'm going to use more of a solid line now. I can use a little bit of cross hatching. I can start here. I'm using the 2B pencil, which is the lightest pencil I have here tonight. And I can start putting a little bit of shadow on this little form shadow on this side. And also I can go up here on the neck portion and get a shadow side up here. Now what's interesting about this drawing, and what's interesting about this particular thing here, is there's also there's a darker and there's a lighter. There's a reflected light here on the back of this vase. So I'm going to use a darker. I'm going to use the 4B now to go in here and get on. I'm going to put a darker line in there on the 4. We're using the 4B now on top of that 2B to get a darker shadow pattern. And back here on the back edge is where that there's a reflected light coming up on the back edge of this vase, right along here. The edge of the vase is dark, but then there's the light coming off the wall is hitting the back of this vase, which you're going to get reflected. You're going to get reflected light on the back of the vase, of the vase. Okay. Now, when you're all done, you keep shading away. You keep going, and then you can go in with a blender now, and you can actually you can do a smooth, maybe a smooth shadow just by going over the cross hatching marks. Okay, so that's how I'm going to just show you the end result here. That's how you would shade in a three-dimensional item. You find the darkest area, which I did with a comparison of the value chart here, the value finder, and I used the cross hatching one way in here. Then up here I used a lighter pencil. I did some cross hatching here for the next level value on the shadow. Then I did a third cross hatching behind the vase, which is the third level of value. And then around the form shadow on the vase itself is another light value. Again, using cross hatching, and later on you can go in and smooth it out. Now let me show you the one I did. I had time to do this before. This is the complete drawing. This is a complete drawing of what I was demonstrating here before. This is the photo. That's the photo, and this is the complete drawing. Okay, and I'll put a little mat board. I'll put a little mat around this just to maybe show it off a little bit. I'll put a mat around that. Once you've done a drawing, you can also frame it and hang it and sign it because it becomes a piece of art. So let's go back to my main camera. All right. That was a real quick demonstration on using shading and cross-hatching. Cross-hatching to do the shading on a particular three-dimensional item. And first of all, you need an item, let's say, in this case I used a round item like a vase, or you could use a circular item like a ball or some round shape or bowl. And then by using cross-hatching, you would go in and you would do a cross-hatching shading on the dark side and on the light side. And you saw there I had three different areas of light, middle, and dark values. And I used three different pencils to do that, but also three different pressures. I put more pressure on the dark, less pressure on the second one, and a lot less pressure on the third one. And then I went in and put a form shadow around the vase itself using the same cross-hatching technique. Okay, well, I want you to try that, and let's see. Hello, Brazen. You're from Houston. Hi. Well, hi. I'm glad to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for checking in. And if you've seen the video or you look through the thing, try this yourself. This is a very interesting technique on doing a drawing and so forth. So tonight's lesson was to take a look at shading with a pencil and getting the three values and using cross-hatching to do that. Okay? So I'll see you next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be back also in the air next Thursday at 2 p.m. on Everetts Watercolors. So until then, happy drawing,